And we're live on Friday night. How is everyone? I see JB was here early. Bobby Frizzell was here super early. Auto Salvage Outlaws, Wrong English, Lunar Outlaws Garage, Unfinished Project, Twisted Bopar Dennis. Dean is here, says Kiwi, check. Well, Dean posted a lot there. Nancy is here, Indecisive Garage Tim. Grand Pito Vic says, hello everyone, hello Dean, hello Unfinished, hello Twisted, hello Lunar, hello JB. Etc., etc. We've got Mohawk 62 here. Also, I've got it pinned at the top, but immediately after this live stream is a premiere of a driving tour of the remains of Princeton Dragway, which is current day Ginger Lane in Princeton, West Virginia. The Tour Angie channel that does Bluefield and Princeton history videos, driving videos, toured that. So I said I would plug it on here if you premiered it right after. So there we go. Turbo Tom 416, Dan E. Boyd, Mama M to the third power, a.k.a. Colleen, Mean Street Mopar, who is converting an M-body Diplomat to manual disc brakes. It's an unusual thing, but he's doing it. Sixth Street Garage is here. Pure Pontiac, the One-Eyed Cat, Don English, Brian Beeler of Round 'em Up fame, Grandma Vic is here, EFOG 3. Old McDonald had a car, says he is here somewhat. Thumper is here, saying once again, I'm not actually here. I'm a chat bot with a sentence of the fat guy downloaded to a mainframe. Well, right on. We'll take it. Andrew Nelson says the whole Nivlac 57 clan saying hello tonight. Well, howdy. Glad you all are watching. And next week, we're going to be talking about travel packages to Sykeston for those who are interested. We're working on that. Junkyard D says, happy spring, everyone. Yesterday was the first official day of spring, and yet it was colder than it was all month. So it's all, I guess, whatever it means to you. Although I thought about Andrew Nelson yesterday. I had to meet a client and different stuff, and I'd have 10 and 20 and 30 minutes at a time in between appointments and such to go out and rake in the yard. And wasn't crazy about it, but I thought, you know, as Andrew Nelson says, if you got 10 minutes, get a 10-minute job done, right? And so I did. I said, that'll be that much less raking waiting for me when I get back. So I did. I'll show everybody. This is what I was doing today. Raking out that fence line. You see all the piles of brush, piling it all on the trailer. So I got all that done. Just so much work. Then I got that one pile back there with torn tarps, concrete, some old flower pots, all that's going away. But I got all my trash in that one corner, got everything raked out. Probably be really sore tomorrow, but whatever. It was productive. Cope Racing Transmission says, what is the travel pack? Well, so Tour Angie, who is premiering the Princeton travel video and did the video of the Rock, West Virginia bottling plant and Coca-Cola story, is a travel agent and has offered to do some travel packages for those traveling to Sykeston in September. So she's going to be working on things like lodging, flights, rental cars, etc., to help make it easier for people who want to plan their travel. So I said, go for it. Sounds good. Mohawk, the Scamp Man. 38 Racing. Howdy. Thumper says, where are the cars? You can't be one of us unless you have dozens of cars in your yard. No, I don't have dozens. I have 11 here on site, thank you. And you could just see the Roadrunner in the one, but there were several out of sight. I'm just filming the back fence line. You saw all those pines, so I don't have anything under those pines. Fab Race Mod Repeat. Thanks for joining us. One of us. Well, I'll tell you what. I've got enough old rusty junk here to keep up with most all of y'all. Grand Pito Vic says, that's not me. I have two. Colleen says, hammer the like button, everyone. Okay. Blue Grit says, how's it going? Hope you all are avoiding the wildfires. Well, I'm trying to avoid a wildfire in my fence line by raking years and years of brush and debris out of it. I found what was left of a wooden clothesline pole. Looks like one of it will pick up the throwaway and the other one has rotted away. It's a mess back there. Old McDonald said, Mohawk, what's the back spacing needed to fit my Dart with Krager SS with stock leaf springs? I have the wheel wells cut out. Well, Mohawk's car, I think it's got relocated springs. It's got a big tire on the back. So if you've got your leaf, says stock leaf springs, but if they're in the stock location, I don't remember. That's a for A-bodies only type of question right there. But a Dart, it's pretty tight with stock springs. If your wheel wells are cut out, you can do whatever in the front. But I think what you're describing, he says, I have the wheel wells cut out. Sounds to me like you've relocated the springs. That gives you almost 3 inches per side. Grand Vito Vic's having to wait for another harness to come in. Cool. So you had a problem there getting your wiring done, I assume. Wrong English loves the patina. Yeah, the Roadrunner. Yeah, if you like patina, you'll like that car. I just think it's cool. Dean says torsion bars are just coil springs laid flat. Man, you wouldn't believe how many people on the internet cannot understand that. Colleen raises a good question. Blue Grit Walter had said that wildfires were threatening Anna's property and wants an update. I agree. Grand Pito Vic says, bad harness than a wrong harness. Yikes. Ooh, hope you got confidence in harness number 3. So now that everybody's in here, we're going to have a giveaway here in a little bit. We'll probably do that bottom of the hour. So last week I gave away winner's choice of a banner or a hat. And since Big James wins the banner, we're going to give away the hat tonight. So one of us. That was a very weird flick. Okay, well, now I want to check it out. Junkyard D says, I have 11 also, 6 of which need to be moved by next weekend. At least one runs. Oh, gosh. You got to have 6 of them moved? That's not good. Doesn't sound good. I'm in town, but, I try to keep everything presentable and be a good neighbor. And I'm on the very end of a street, so I don't have too many nosies up here. We got one nosy old woman that lives up the street. When she leaves her driveway, she can't just turn right and go out of the neighborhood like everybody else. Oh no, she's got to turn left and look at everybody's stuff and turn around. And oh, she's so nosy. Does it all the time just to look at people's what they're doing. So annoying. But by and large, that's probably why I've gotten away with it as long as I have. I keep everything pressure washed and clean. That goes a long way. Keep my tires up and all of that. Keep everything trimmed, mowed. And that just makes a lot of difference. Because it's not usually the cars they care about. It's usually how you keep the place. And that's what I've been doing all week, is cleaning up broken pine limbs and brush. And I've got this place now looking better than it looked, the last 3 seasons, just cleaning out stuff. I mean, I found stuff in that fence line I had no idea was there. There's a lot of junk had blown in there. Bad Tree Blake says, Heathens assemble, my phone is going to die. Have an awesome weekend, everyone. Well, thanks for stopping by, man. So Junkyard D, 6 have to be moved by next weekend, at least 1 runs. So tell us what your tow vehicle and the other 5 are going to have to be doing. Is it a dire situation? Do you need a place to stash stuff? "38 Racing says, I've been studying the LS wiring diagrams today and then drawing my own out. I've done 1 LS swap, used a wiring harness from Current Performance down in Florida, and it was perfect. Everything was seamless, never had a problem. But it's the only one I've done, but I'm 1 for 1 on doing them, and that's the wiring harness. So. Mohawk says his has been narrowed with ladder bars and coilovers. Has it been back halved, or is it just you have ladder bars with coilovers on your factory frame rails? So Mohawk doesn't even have that little bit of spring that would hang over from relocating them per side. But is yours a back half car, or does it have factory frame rails? Because you could still be helpful to him. Colleen has 7 cars. Danny Boyd says tractor and a tow rope. Yeah. Brazil has lost count of how many's here. Yeah, that's valid. Grand Pito Vic sounds like he's got a real wiring mess going on. Main Street Mopar says, I only have 10 old cars and trucks that don't run. I hear that. Upper says, question for everyone. Do I make this 71 Mustang pretty and nice, or do I do it extremely low buck and make it a beater? I say you do it however makes you happy. What would make you happy to do? So Blue Grit says her phone died, so we found out through a coworker they set her and her dogs up in a cabin, so she didn't have to drive through the tornadoes. Fire stopped a mile away, and everything's okay. Well, that's cool. That's good. Frazell says, my place looks like Fred Sanford lives here. Yeah, probably with a red, you have a red 51 Ford truck there? Lowry's Garage says, hello all. Well, hello, Lowry. Thanks for stopping by. Wrong English says, spring cleaning there. Time to get a head start. Well, here's the thing. Right now, the trees are starting to come out. And if I wait any longer and those leaves come out, it's going to get so much harder to clean out that fence line. It needs to be done before the trees green up and the leaves come out. And they are starting to. So by next week, it's going to be significantly harder to do than it is right now. So I'm going to be thrashing out there tomorrow and Sunday, finishing up. I've got most of it done. I'm about 80% done, but I'm going to be hammering on this tomorrow and Sunday. That's why I've been working in the wind and the cold trying to get it done, because I can keep seeing the trees budding and the leaves getting bigger. I'm like, if I don't get this done soon, it's going to be really hard to do. Because I have to get in behind the trees to clean. So anyway, it looks really good though. It's could be less of a fire hazard, but I mean, generally that's people throwing cigarettes in the tree line. I don't think any of my neighbors smoke either. Junkyard D says, I rented a storage unit in September last year. Moved to 6th there. Received a letter of lease non-renewal. No reason given. Man, I hate that. But you had 6 cars in a... Give me just a second. Cool. So you had 6 under roof, or just 6 in a 6 in a units? I guess it's 6 under roof, right? Not just a fenced area. Grand Pito Vic says, I'm going with a BP automotive harness when she goes in the car. Mostly old parts. Ron Ward says, good evening, sir. Hello, Ron Ward, the voice of the AHRA No Name Nationals. Glad you're here. Chris 103 Custom says, why does my car taste like Pepsi? Well, if it's from that run of bottling and it's 72 years old, I'm surprised it tastes like anything. Junkyard D says, yesterday I signed a new lease. Will trailer behind the 2nd generation Dodge with the new 20s. Cool. I'm glad you got it resolved. Levi said, evening, gents. Levi says, sorry I'm late. Well, no reason to be sorry. We're just here hanging out. I'll do a giveaway here at the bottom of the hour. Grand Pito Vic said, if I can find a good harness, he will de-pin another, which is probably what I will do. I enjoyed it. Okay, some people like doing that kind of stuff. Some people, it's a real chore. It's kind of a chore to me, but once I get my head wrapped around it, it's not bad. So mostly old parts. Ron Ward says, if it's anything like the 72 Fastback he's working on, fix the rust and have fun. Yeah, whatever suits a person. Blue Grit says 7 cars in the garage, 1 in the backyard, 5 in the driveway, not including Anna's truck. That seems to be about par for all of us, something like that. Thumper says he still has 2 months before he will see any leaves. The leaves are coming out here now. Everything is starting to green up and all that stuff. The grass hasn't yet, but the leaves are. And I'm going to have more grass this year the way I'm cleaning his yard up, I hope. Ron says, would a flamethrower be of use as a yard tool? No, because of the trees. It's not just like a fence line where you can just rake it away and burn it. I've seen people doing that this spring, but the problem is where I am is people will see the fire from the highway or see the smoke and they'll call the fire department. And one time I was burning here and had a huge pumper truck roll up in, right to the driveway. And it was just nothing. But so I can't burn here. Mohawk says, I'm not a fan of yellow. I think I'll take some Hunter Green from Tractor Supply, add pearl clear and metallic to it, and paint it that color. How are you going to add all that to it? Don't they just have rattle cans at Tractor Supply? You're not going to do a 220 and try to mix that up, are you? 38 Racing says he's planning on a 411 ECM for the 5.3 and a 4L60E. I wish that Chevrolet had made a hydraulic version of that. I don't think they ever did. I think they were all electronic when they went to that overdrive. Or is the 700 R4, is there a hydraulic version of that? There may have been. I'm not sure. Mohawk says, I hear you on the no yellow. Well, I love yellow. I think it's a great muscle car color. My first car was yellow. Slant Daily Garage says, what's up, suckers? I see I-81 in the background. Yeah, I-81 is in the background. Yes, it is. I can hear it right now. Dust Devil Garage says, I'm here. Slant Daily Garage says, the countdown begins. The countdown begins to what? We're at 180 days and 3 hours and 39 minutes until the 4th annual AHRA No Name Nationals, but countdown's been going since 308 days. Glad you're here, Professor. Thank you for coming out. We're going to give a hat away here in about 9.5 minutes. We're going to give away a No Name Nationals hat. Ooh. Justin Hill says it's cold in Idaho. You know what, Professor P, if you would, I'd like for you to have our trivia question tonight. Would you give us a good trivia question at 8? It'll be 7:30 your time, and if you don't mind, text me the answer. A good trivia question, and we'll let Professor P ask our trivia question tonight. Is that good with you? I like having you guys, some of you guys, come up with one every now and then. Call the fire department before you burn. That works sometimes. I have to do it in Bluefield, but they can be picky there too. Andrew Nelson says we get to snow blow and mow grass in the same week this time of year. Ooh, yuck. Yeah, we're done with snow, but mowing season, usually April 1 is when I got to have blades running. Ron Ward says, want to hear something cool? The state of Kansas charges me about $100 a year property tax on my 2001 Civic. Next year, I can title it as an antique and taxes will be $17 a year. Yeah, but if you do that, doesn't it put all these restrictions on driving it? It would in Virginia. That's why I'm asking. Slant Daily says, I'm picking up a Magnum block to do the oiling tricks for hydraulic style lifters. I'm sure that'll be a great video, really worthwhile stuff. If you're not subscribed to Slant Daily Garage, you should be. Lots of stuff you can learn from Professor P. And of course, on Wednesday nights on the AHRA channel, the Wednesday Tech Talk. Very worthwhile. Levi says, Diamond Plate is going on the ramp truck tomorrow while the heads for the Laguna are at the machine shop. Right on. He's getting it done. Thumper says you can get paint in quarts and gallons there, not just a rattle can. Okay, that's cool. I didn't know. Probably at ours too. Maybe I've just never looked. And 38 Racing confirms the TH700. I think you mean the $700 is the hydraulic. Okay, yeah. Okay, that sounds right. Yeah, and BR says the same. Yeah. Okay, that's kind of what I figured. Because it doesn't have the E. But are all 700 R4s by definition hydraulic? And if so, what was the year they changed that? Dean Stevenson says, if it's a Ford, it most likely identifies as a Model T. So remove 9,000 parts, so a 71 Mustang has 5,500 parts like a Model T. Other Ford Mustang owners will benefit. You know what? Dean's comments are always just an acid trip of their own, aren't they? Dust Devil says, I'll worry when it hits 100. What hits 100? I'm lost. Grand Pito Vic says, I'll go ahead and send you my address. I already have your address. Sent you a card. Rabbit Transit J says, everyone, see, there's a series called Duster coming out. Yeah, apparently, I think it's like a Cinemax original series or something. And the name of it is Duster. And he's got the Duster logo lettering and everything. And the title character, whatever, drives a Duster. I don't know anything about the show. It looks like some kind of, illegal danger or something drama, something or other. They're probably going to wreck a few Dusters in it. But yeah, there's a show called Duster coming out. And it looks like a 70 or 71 Duster. So, who's buried in Grant's tomb? Grant, by definition, will be buried in Grant's tomb, because if it's anyone else, it's not Grant's tomb now, is it? Most field parts says lemon twist, grabber yellow, Daytona yellow, top banana, all cool colors. Yes, sir. Who would know the spacing question? So, Professor P, do you have a boilerplate answer for someone if they have moved the leaf springs and relocated them inboard into the frame rails? What the correct wheel spacing would be to fit maximum meat on an A body? I don't know the answer to that. What standard wheel fits if you relocate your springs? I don't know. I mean, a lot of people have done it, so I'm sure a lot of people know. Thumper says, I don't have to worry about grass. I park cars on all the land without trees. Yeah. I would use this a lot more creatively if it weren't for all those giant pines. I can tell you that. I would probably put up an 8-foot wooden fence across the back and park back there. I would do something completely different back here. Most field parts has no restrictions in Kansas. My Roadrunner and Truck are both titles antique. Well, that's cool. I know they put a lot of restrictions here. 6th Street Garage says, when is the registration deadline? There's not really a registration deadline, but the thing is the earlier you register, the more it helps us. We can pay bills earlier. We can project things a little earlier about turnout. It is helpful to us to register early. I would love to see 150 channels registered by Memorial Day. That would be wonderful. There's a lot of people who will not register early, and there are some people who see if they can be the first to register every year. So I appreciate everyone who turns out, but if you know you're coming and you're committed, go ahead and register. It does help us. .38 Racing says that Kansas antique plates don't expire either. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, ours don't either. Ours are permanent registration. B&R says 94 was the first year of the 4L60E and a Corvette. Was the first year of the 4L60E altogether. So I think it was a $700 4 I took out of a 92 Camaro when I converted it over to T56 6-speed. Rob's Rods and Street Cars is here. Howdy. Dust Devil says 100 mile an hour wind. 100 mile an hour wind is, what is that, a category? Is that a category 2 or 3 hurricane? I know hurricane starts at 70, 75, and it's a tropical storm just before. I mean, that's a legit hurricane. B&R says 93 was the first year in a GM truck. Okay. I don't know what Danny Boyd's talking about, but okay. Danny Boyd says a bunch of stupid hipsters trying to be cool and still needing the car to attract attention. Okay. 38 Racing says he has a Corvair here with Kansas antique plates. No worries. Diecast Dreams. Got the brat this weekend, so I can't hang out. Okay, understood. Thanks for stopping by. Grampito Vic says that's about the same as the square root of infinity. Who would know that? Okay. Old McDonald says my spring location is stock, but the wheel wells are out ready for tubs. Well, the thing is, if you just take out the tubs, you get 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch, maybe, if you just take out the tubs and don't move the springs. You don't get hardly anything for that because the springs aren't much more inboard than the tubs on the inside. You don't get much, or well, the tubs, you don't get much for just taking out the tubs. You got to take out the tubs and the springs to get an appreciable amount of tire. It's if you take out the tubs and leave the springs there, you get nothing. If you move the springs and don't take out the tubs, you get about 3/4 of an inch. Yeah, that's the way it is. The spring is actually a little farther inboard than that wheel tub, but your tub is already out. But so now your spring is still what's in the way. I can tell you for sure that if it fits too tight, your tire sidewall will rub the spring in the stock location. I know that for a fact. I know if you run it low enough on air, an 8.5 inch tire will. Blue Grit says Grant's Farm just out of St. Louis has a long metal fence made out by cabin Civil War era rifle barrels. Okay. Neat. I like watching how they used to make barrels back in the day, and then they would straighten it. Wrong English says always there for you, John. Well, I appreciate that. Danny Boyd says Kansas State troopers aren't messing around. I've never been to Kansas. Wouldn't mind, just never have. I see Lars is here. Howdy. All right, let me catch up on comments. It's time for a giveaway. I think we're about caught up. Lars is here. JB is here. stopping by. Andy, Community Motorsports Garage. All right. Time for a giveaway. I need to get caught up. DNR's got a good comment there. Vacuum modulator for that. Never been crazy about those things. That's Ford stuff. Old McDonald says if you use the offset shackles, you could cause the leaf springs to bind up. I don't know about that at all. Unity says, hey, everyone, Casper's about ready. I've been getting ready for the move. We are closing Monday. Oh, ran right on. Good deal. Closings are exciting. All right, it's time to give something away. Professor P, are you in the house? Are you ready? All right, I'm going to let you post the question up, and I'll put it up. I'll give you just a minute here. He may be listening to us. A lot of people listen to this podcast style. Blue Grit says, don't get the tires too close in the rear because the tires can rub when cornering. Yes, they can. Yes, they can. J-Bo is here. Howdy. Thanks for joining us. All right, here's our question. Slant Daily Garage asks, what is the first year of a hydraulic lifter in a Slant 6? And this is for a No Name Nationals cap. Flex fit, nice caps. First person to get it. I'm going to let it roll for a minute. We'll confirm who's first. Coming to you. Oh my, look at the guesses flying in. Oh my. I'm going to let them roll for just a little bit, then we'll go back and confirm. Because usually a lot of people will get this. So, okay, I've seen the correct answer, but I love to let it roll for a minute because I love getting all the wrong answers too. It's always greatly entertaining. Okay, I've seen the correct answer. Pretty sure I know who's got it first. Yeah, feel confident with this one. Mr. Ron Ward, 1981. Why is it always a Mopar question? I just asked for a question. Didn't have to be. Tell you what, Thumper, do you want to come up with our trivia question for next week? You can do that. Make it whatever you want, as long as it's within reason, of course. JB says he has 2 weeks to get ready. Clock in the calendar, wait for no one, man. Blue Grit says never. Well, almost never, because they only made that engine through, what, 86, 87? A lot of guys got 81. J-Bo said never. They tested in 78. Yeah, that would make sense. Wilburn is full Mopar. I have another make that I like too. Yep, Ron got it. I always just let it run for just a second and come count back and double check. Yes, Ron Ward did. So that will be going out to you, I guess, Monday morning. Brazil said I got it first. Ron was just, yep, Ron's quick. But see, Ron got it before the wave of people got it. He probably had that number in his head from somewhere. Thumper says I have thousands. Well, I'll tell you what, next time I do a giveaway, we'll get the question from you. Indirect Connection says they made the Slant 6 until 2000. What, like in Mexico or something? Is that? Because I was thinking here it was 86 or 7. I know 87 here they went to the 3.9 V6. And by the way, thank you, Slant Daily, for that question. Thank you kindly. It was made for generators and fork trucks, maybe cars in South America. Yeah, okay, cool. Cool. So where the engine? So I guess it was still carbureted all of that time. Because it sounds to me like in industrial applications it could have been. I don't guess they ever made a fuel-injected version of it, right? Danny Boyd says VTEC just kicked in you. Yeah, that's funny how that works. It is a thing though. It's about 4,000 RPM in those engines. The CRV's got it too. Ron says, I think the slant was used in industrial stuff like forklifts, whereas they powered it with propane. Oh, that's neat. That's neat. I'm sure somebody's tried that in a car then. Wrong English says, the question is how many aluminum block slants were produced? Well, that's a production thing you could look up. Indirect Connection says it was never EFI. Those are just happy engines. I like them. .38 says, I better have Google fired up and ready if Trump the Thumper's supplying the trivia. Well, don't let me forget Thumper. Ron says, I had a 62 Valiant Signet 200 with an aluminum slant. Yeah, they're neat. The One-Eyed Cat says 55,000 aluminum block slant sixes. Neat. J-Bo says, we have a slant six forklift in the neighborhood. Well, that's neat. How is that not yours? I can see that prowling around your property moving stuff. Now, Rob's Drives a Streetcar says the first year that hydraulic lifters in a straight six engine for Ford was in the 64.5 Mustang. Well, that's interesting. Did not know that. That's cool. So when they were introducing that at the 64 World's Fair, they should have told people now with hydraulic lifters. Danny Boyd says his mom's first car was a slant six Valiant. Nice. Old McDonald says, can you explain why it was 1981 and not 1960? Or did I get a wrong question on my TV and phone? Because the question is when did the Slant Six first use a hydraulic lifter? Not when did it come out. They were solid lifter prior to that. One-Eyed Cat has an aluminum slant in his garage, complete down to the draft tube. I've seen it. My dad always thought the Slant Six looked weird, like it was going to fall out of the car. Can't argue with how well they work, though. I moved my seat cushion. I'm sitting weird in this chair. Starting to wear on me. Might have to change something here at halftime. Why did they bother to go hydraulic at all? That's a good question. I mean, I guess for the same reason the world kind of went to hydraulic. They didn't tech, then no maintenance. It's kind of the way the world went. But in general, there's a lot of things that work great that people don't do anymore. Why did we bother to go to automatic transmission? There's a whole lot of things that we've gone to for, usually it's reasons of noise, vibration, harshness, laziness, cost, all the same reasons. So I don't know why people are spending these now, but I guess they can if they want to. They can ask them on future editions. But Indirect Connection says, what was the Slant Six called when it was introduced? Mohawk says Slant Fours are even more weird. Yes, that would be very weird. Rob says noise and durability. Andy says, I believe the last American engine to have solid lifters was the 2.8 Ford V6, I believe. What year would that have been, Andy? I know the Hyundai Excel had them all the way through the end of the run. In fact, they didn't have lifters at all. They just had solid rockers, on the cam with a little pad on it, and you adjusted the lash. I ran one hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of miles just like that. Danny Boy says, can an aluminum slant be sleeved? My understanding they are not, and that is their weak point. I don't know who has ever done it, but I don't know why it couldn't. I mean, the problem is it's an open deck. That's the reason why people don't build them. Blue Grit Garage says, how much treatable power can you get out of a normally aspirated slant? I'll tell you, there's a few hardcore people racing those things. That'd be a good Slant Daily question right there. Be a good one for Professor P. It's a good one to ask on Wednesday, actually. 83, 84. The Excel had it in 89 because I had one and adjusted those regularly. Fab Brace Mod repeats has had one of a 2.8 solid lifter in the Ranger. Who's Your Garage says, hi, folks. How's it going, sir? .38 says, I've seen a 3+3 as an air compressor, 3 for power, 3 for the compressor. Oh, that's wild. Was that a flat 6 or V6 or an inline where they just did it every other one? It's kind of weird. I guess it was an inline 120-degree crank, and they had it set up to do that way. That's wild. Almost makes me think it would sound like a hit and miss or something. Old McDonald says the 30D Economy 6 was what the Slant 6 was originally called. Well, I'm so glad no one calls it that now. Andy says, last production car to come with a Holley carb was the mighty 85 GT Mustang. I did know that one because that came up a few years ago somehow in the YouTube world. And it might have been Andy that mentioned it. I think it probably was you, but I learned that from you, I guess. Mohawk says, check out Clifford Research 6 = 8. They did a lot with the slant. Yes, they did. They did indeed. And in fact, the Nelsons have a shirt that says Clifford used the wrong 6. Indirect Connection says, the aluminum slant had steel liners, but the problem is the aluminum will deteriorate from the back side of the freestanding line. Oh, yeah, they were real bad for corrosion. People generally don't do anything with those aluminum 6s. And they had an open deck. That's another thing, too. Chris 103 Custom says, friends. Well, got a lot of friends here. Andy says, I love weird, useless facts. Well, you have come to the right place, where we have weird, useless facts like there's 249 splines on a Sprag race for 727. There's something totally useless, right? Hoosier said Uncle Tony built a Miata with a slant. Yes, he did. I'll tell you what, I was there. I took him that slant, and I was standing there. He unloads it out of the trailer, picks it up with the crane, takes it out of the trailer, and doesn't even stop. Pulls it back, takes it straight over to the car, drops it straight down. Let me tell you, that was the wildest, thrashingest, sledgehammeringest fitting that 6 in there you've ever seen. It was wild and unrestrained, but he got it in there, and he got it in there quickly. And he drove it around. It worked. I mean, I'll give him credit. I'm sure nobody else has ever done that swap before. Chris 103 Custom says, friend's father built a welder out of a slant to weld dozers. Sounds like good use. Levi says, hey, y'all, how you keep your welding hoods clean while not using it? Mine stays on the weld table or tank. Anyone have a cover that works well? I have a Miller cover, and it doesn't fit too great, but, you know, it doesn't cover. I just set the hood on top of it. So, I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell you on that. Grand Pito Vic says, I have so much useless automotive knowledge in this cranium, it's not funny. Who just said, I forgot you took him that? Well, I don't. I didn't forget. Yeah, the connector that was supposed to bring it to me here petered out right before, so I had to go up like 4 hours the wrong way to freaking Maryland and pick it up, and then I had to come back this way to drop it off on my way to going through Arkansas. Most of the old part says, I have the coolant overflow jug out of that Miata in my Roadrunner. Let's see what Ron sent me. He says, Valiant's run pretty good when you replace the slant with a 360. And this is Ron. Show me this. Pretty wild there. .38 stores his in a cabinet so it stays clean and I can't find it. That sounds about like what would happen right there. Slant Daily says, I own the slant that UTG put in that car. Yeah, I guess you do. Oh, interesting. Ron says, get a 5-gallon bucket with a lid. You can throw your welding hood in it. And I'll tell you, 5-gallon bucket. So Firehouse Subs sells all their pickle buckets pretty cheap, about half the price of Lowe's or Home Depot or any of these warehouse places. They're food grade. They have lids with gaskets, and the handles all work and everything because nothing heavy was ever put in them. That is a good place to get a good deal of 5-gallon buckets. Firehouse Subs, if they have one in your area. Hoosier says you're a good friend. That's for certain. I guess it depends who you ask. Blue Grit says, I believe the slant UTG put in the Miata was a 170. Yes, it was. Ron says that Valiant ran 1188 at 113. That thing was moving. Levi says, I don't have a cabinet with enough room in it. I use the grocery bags till my supplies gone. Well, man, put up some shelves or something. I mean, we all got to do something. But that bucket idea is not bad. You just want to remember it's in that bucket. Firehouse Subs are great. Yes, they are. They're great. They're expensive, and they probably have enough sodium to mummify a person. But they're good. The only thing I don't like about our Firehouse Subs here, it's one thing I don't like. Service is good. It's in Blacksburg. Go there whenever I have to go to Blacksburg, whatever. But they always have it on that sports worship TV shows, no matter what time of day you go in there. So the whole time you're trying to eat your turkey hook and ladder sub, you got Stephen A. Smith yelling about some overpaid athlete for 30 minutes. It's just, oh, it's bad. Levi says, I like that buckets around here get taken and used for other dirty activities. I can only control myself. Well, that's the way it goes, man. I got buckets that are clean buckets, buckets that are dirty buckets. I'll tell you what, though, 5-gallon bucket is perfect for putting a 100-foot extension cord, a real big one, a 100-footer in there. You can roll that up, and you don't roll it around your arm so that the thing doesn't twist. I hate that. Oh, there's nothing like having someone helping you, and you turn around, and here they've cranked your cord up around their arm, and now the thing is twisted forever. You can't ever get. I can't stand that. It's like, man, that cord was $130. And now it won't ever lay flat. But I'll take the cord and I'll roll it around like a short piece of limb or something. And when you crank it that way, the cord will stay good. And then the whole thing will drop down in a 5-gallon bucket. It works perfectly. Danny Boyd says, I've used 5-gallon buckets to house 8-inch woofers in the back of my car in the 90s. I can totally see you doing that. Mohawk says, when I was in Yuma, we had a service slant 6 the Army was using as an irrigation pump. Looks weird, painted Army green with braided plug wires and steel vacuum lines. Oh, that sounds neat. A friend of mine has an early Hemi that's an irrigation pump at his folks' farm. Levi says, I'm going to try the bucket idea. Sounds like a good one to me. 38 says, you better shop more. I found old steel kitchen cabinets and cupboards. Oh, yeah. The Virginia Tech auctions got more cabinets, like every auction, than you could ever want. I'm kind of keeping my eye out for a stainless table because I want one to do transmissions on. And here is, I believe, Professor P's 170 slant. And if I can find it quickly, I believe I can, if I do it by map sort. Because I go to that area of the country so rarely, it shouldn't be hard to find. Here is that slant right here in the back of the CRV. There it is on a pallet. Moving it up there on that end. And I don't know why it's not in this picture, but I had a picture of actually loading it. Just can't find that at the minute. But I was in Maryland. Always some serious purpose if I'm going there. I don't go to Maryland for fun. This is the block, the aforementioned Magnum block that's going to Professor P. Nice and clean, Dust Devil brides. But now we'll catch up on our comments. Thumper says, up here we don't have Firehouse subs. If you see Firehouse on the sign, it's a weed shop. Ugh, yuck. Hoosier has 7 buckets full of glass beads. Used to strip the duster. I collected all of it and filtered it and still use it in my media blaster, so I never have any available. I'll tell you what, I like that. I got a friend that has a great glass cabinet. It's really big, works real well. That's what I use for everything. Most of the old parts has stopped by Tractor Supply and get one of those oversized mailboxes mounted on posts. You can mount it to the side of your welding cart. Gosh, that would work well. Yeah. Ron knows a lot of these kind of things. Thanks for sharing. Ron says, I can throw my 100-footer all the way out, no kinks. Yeah, well, wrapping it on the arm, because what happens is every time it goes around, it twists one turn. So if you wrap it around your arm, say, 40 times, you've twisted it like a torsion bar 40 times also. It just ruins cords. So many people do that. And they do it when they try to help you. And it's like, oh, man. Now the cord never wants to do what it's supposed to. Levi says, this is why I don't mind getting made fun of by Ron. Super creative, smart guy. I never thought about the mailbox idea. Yeah. I think that's a great idea. Nah, we have fun with you, Levi. You put it on a tee for us sometimes. Dust Devil says, my 440 was a pump engine. Yeah. 5-gallon buckets have unlimited uses. I store 8 3/4 Chrysler center sections in them. Yeah, I've seen that. That's a great idea. I've seen guys will even put like a little register down in there so they can set it straight down with the ring gear. But that said, they'll also stand up in one unless it's weighted too goofy, I would assume. $5-gallon bucket makes a dandy seat too. Yeah. I'll use plenty of them for seats. 5-gallon buckets are the perfect size for everything. Yeah, they're good. I've got a bunch here. I sorted out 5-gallon buckets of scrap, copper and steel and brass, and just sorted all that out last week. Oh my gosh, what a mess. It took me an hour. But I put all the bolts in one and put all the broken steel in a couple and had a bunch of copper motors in one. And anyway, it wound up being a pretty good ticket, but it took a lot of sorting. Ron said they could be bolted to a Harbor Freight $6.99 moving dolly and upholster the lid. Makes a great scooter seat. Yep. Hadn't thought about that. Just kind of seems like it would want to tip over, but maybe not. Ron would know. Crashy's Roadrunner Garages. I'm putting a 74 slant in my 86 D100. Thermostats range from 160 degrees to 205. What's the best temperature to run them at? What do you say, guys? I'm just going to say 160. But I think even more important is make sure to drill you a little bleed hole in that. I drill a couple little 1/8-inch bleed holes in my thermostats before I put them in. I run a 160. You have to train your cord. Probably be easier than training my dog, I can tell you that. Ron says, speaking of Harbor Freight, last week a 5-gallon bucket was their giveaway if you bought enough junk. Cool. Graham Pito's got an opinion here. 160 is better for performance and 195 is better for economy usually. I just like a 160 all the way around, but let's see what you guys all say. That's Graham Pito Vic's idea. Ron says buckets, the drummer, 5 gallons of music. Danny Boyd said a 5-gallon bucket is indispensable when changing out a toilet. I don't think I want to know why that is either. If you sleeve the 5-gallon bucket, the third member will rest on that and stand up. Okay, cool. Ron likes a 195. Danny Boyd, 190. Michael Robert Embry, 198. Danny Boyd says 160 is too cold. Old McDonald thinks 160 is too low. 160 can cause more cylinder wear. Danny Boyd says 160, little to no heat. Not been my experience, but everybody's mileage may vary. Blue Grit says there's a way to twist the cord to figure 8 to avoid the twist you mentioned. Do it loosely so to relocate your thumb. Yeah, I've seen that way too. I've done it that way plenty of times. Yeah. I've done it that way plenty of times. My preferred way to do it is to roll it on something small, like, like a little 4-inch tube or something, and drop that in a 5-gallon bucket. But whatever works. Don't like twisting them. Speaking of free, Vivor contacted me about wanting to get me a highlighter product on his channel. Oh, that sounds cool. I said I would if I could get a shop press, no dice. They thought about it, though. Tell you where to get your shop press. Mine came from the dumpster at Harbor Freight. My uncle got it out. He got that and a little crane. It's actually 2 cranes. And one crane had, the hardware was all missing, but the big parts were there. I gave that to a friend of mine. I said, here you go, man. Here's my hardware list. I had to figure it out. I put one spring back. All right. It looks like it's buffing for a second. I used some trampoline springs because they were missing and some of the bolts and stuff, but I use that press all the time. Got not too much in it. So one thing I wasn't crazy about was the way the legs attached on the press. It had these little tiny little pieces. And I decided I'm just going to make a plate and put on there. I thought it was more substantial for the feet. So that's what I did. But yeah, I got very little in my press, and it's great. Danny Boyd says 160 never warms the oil up all the way. I don't know about that. Blue Grit runs a 180. BNR says if you have a heater core, 180 is good. Racing 160. Ron likes a 195 on the slant due to a lack of intake manifold heat. Plus the slant doesn't make any heat to begin with. Street Fox Mike is here. How's it going? Glad you're here. 38 says I run at least a 180. If your system can't keep it cool, stat doesn't matter, which is true. Hoosier said I ought to check. No one local has one secondhand. What a press. Man, I'm telling you, you wouldn't believe what they just throw in the dumpster at Harbor Freight. I'm talking, they'll throw a brand new press away if somebody brings it back on warranty with nothing wrong with it. I guess they go do the one press job they have and return it. I think that's what mine was. Mine didn't even have the paint missing on the bottom of the piece that it presses with. Nobody used that for anything. Big Block 402 says checking in. Got my new knee installed yesterday. Well, cool. Tell us how it works for you. They already got you up walking around? Yeah, it locked up on me a minute. It does that right in the middle of every stream for about 10 seconds and then and I don't know why it does that, but it does. But that's a lot better than what the old machine was doing, so. Big Block 402 Steven says, nerve block wore off today. I'm feeling it now. Well, but overall, I'd say that, it'll get better and be a good move. Crashes Roadrunner Garages, thanks, guys. Yeah, you got a whole lot of answers there. But the consensus does seem to be wired a little run a warmer one than 160, so I'm in the minority on that. Thumper says 195 in his E85 cars. Need to boil water out of the oil. Yeah. Danny Boy just likes a warmer thermostat. No problem. Crashes Roadrunner Garages, do you have a YouTube channel? Well, obviously he does because he's posting it here. I don't know if there's any content on it. Old McDonald says, had knee replaced and shoulder and rotator cuff repair twice. Nothing's on it. Okay. Well, if you put some content on it, we'll share it. Do your thermostat and make a video on it. We'll share it in here. Says that he's doing the clutch knee this summer. So I guess the gas pedal knee and brake pedal knee are all done, and now it's time for the clutch knee. Auto Salvage Outlaw says, I hate pain. Well, some people like pain, oddly. Steven says, I was walking an hour after surgery. It went well. I would say so. My aunt says she needs a knee replacement, but they can't do it laparoscopically. It's going to be a bigger job with her, so she's kind of not wanting to do it. I can understand that. My knees are good right now at the moment, but my right one sounds like it's got glass in it, so who knows. Grand Pito Vic says, I got to wait till after No Name Nationals for that repair, though. Yep. RGB fans of the Crater SS wheels of the personal computer world. I'm not even sure I know what that means. It sounds like an old monitor or something. Old McDonald says, wait a few days and see how black and blue your thigh and knee will look. Sounds like you've done that knee replacement deal before. Red, green, blue LEDs. Okay. This laptop's got a bunch of LEDs on it. It's a gamer laptop, so it's got blue LEDs on the back, and it's got one here with a skull. It's got a skull on the back too, I think. I don't dare pick it up with these cables hooked up and risk losing my signal, but it's got like a lighted blue skull on the back. Ron says, does Sykeston have a bowling alley? I think there is one close by there. It seems like I've seen it in my travels around town. Danny Boyd says, my knees don't like weight on them unless they're straight. ASO's having another surgery on the 15th. He's sick of hospitals and doctor appointments. I can understand that. Blue Grit says, get a hernia repaired and see what turns black and blue. Oh, I bet. This is my poison ivy from working on my fence line. Isn't that nice? It'll get better. I'd say in a couple of weeks that'll all be gone. Grandma Vic says, can't wait to go to the No Name Nationals. Yeah, well, 180 days, 2 hours, 54 minutes. It will be September 18th. It'll be midnight. I'm so excited. Yeah, I mean, excitement is, to me, I'm thinking of all the stuff I've got to do to get ready for D-Day. It is exciting, on Wednesday when you got your setup done and people are rolling in, and Thursday, but it's just a little different from my shoes, I can tell you that. Old McDonald said, how many remember the Roadrunner bolt on the hub figure? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Danny Boyd says, I'm afraid if I went to the hospital, they would say he's totaled. 6th Street Garage said, I had both of my knees done at the same time. Okay. Grand Pito Vic can't wait for his first No Name Nationals. Well, we're excited to meet you, man. Dakota's timeout. How's it going, sir? "38 races is my last surgery was a half-hour job that has backfired. Had 2 more to try to repair and 2 more recommended." Oh, gosh. Buff Del Campo says he's late. Sorry. I mean, it's not like we, take attendance and dock you for tardiness here or anything. I mean, we're just hanging out. Grand Pito Vic's got his 9 o'clock bedtime because 4:30 comes early on the East Coast. Well, right on. Thanks for joining us. Glad you were here. Steven says, I feel like I could have done both at the same time, but I opted for one now. Yeah, I guess there's just so much riding on. If you have complications, you don't want to be immobile. Ron said Dakota's timeout in 5, 4, 3, 2. You know what? That's a really good idea. That's a good idea. Let's see here. There we go. I just put Dakota in timeout. He needed it, so it's the way we keep Dakota functioning regularly. So he hadn't gotten a timeout in a while. Used to be a regular thing years ago, but now we do it for old time's sake. So Danny Boyd says 1 at a time equals crutches. Both at once, surely a wheelchair. Well, I don't know. I'm very fortunate to never have to have done that. ASO says we're looking at a place not far from you. Well, Dizzy Izzy's got a house for sale. He said it goes up April 15th for sale. So it's in Paris, Tennessee, which is between Nashville and Memphis and probably about 30 miles north off of 40, something like that. Yeah, there you go. 38 races, has it? Dizzy has a place for it. Exactly. Dizzy's place. Who knows? I don't know anything about it. I know it's like 3 or 4 acres. So I don't know. Anyway, whenever it comes up, I'm happy to share the link. Dakota could answer that when he comes back from his timeout. You should ask David Allen Coe in the comments. I know he's been looking. Dakota has sent me a handful. I'm happy to help him do recon on one. Most of the old parts says, bought a shrinker and stretcher today. Oh, that's cool. Picking up a bead roller in the next week or so. Built the brake a month ago. Time to start making replacement panels for cars that don't have aftermarket support. Oh, wow. That's a big job. Man. Grandma Vic says, everyone have a great night. God bless you all and be safe. Thanks for a great live. Have fun with your hair. Good night. Well, thanks for coming by. We appreciate you being here. It's always fun with you and the Grand Pito Vic. So thanks for coming by. Yeah, that's a big job doing the metal fab, making patches and stuff. That's an art to that. Thumper wants to know if you have an English wheel to go with that, and a planishing hammer. Going to need those too, yeah. Yeah, trying to match all that contouring is pretty wild. But there are some people, that's their thing. Mohawk says they're having a big diecast model show and sale in Huntsville tomorrow. Dakota could get a charger. Maybe. That's not a bad idea. So if you get 24 1/24 scale chargers, is that the same as having one full size? Danny Boyd says, I've always wanted to learn metalworking like that. Well, do it. Learn it. Go learn it. Go learn it. But he says he still hasn't learned to weld outside the stub welder. Well, I'll tell you, you can take some good welding classes inexpensively at your local community college. I learned to weld at Virginia Tech. I took a welding fabrication course there, a couple others in that vein. I'm not saying I'm any good at it, but I can use a MIG pretty well. I'm no real welder or anything. Blue Grit saw some new replacement charger, full quarter panels, and other parts on Craigslist. Yeah, there's a lot of that stuff. It's varying degrees of quality. I've seen varying degrees of what you get. I remember when the original panels, you were seeing them come out when I was in high school, like in the 80s and 90s. And some of these Taiwanese panels were just the most hot rotten garbage I have ever seen. Like you could get one of their fenders and put up, and it wouldn't even match the body lines from the door. It was just junk. We're talking the mounting holes would be a quarter of an inch off. I mean, it's not even close. They were just junk. And I would see those like for, dent side Fords and square body Chevys. And they were really cheap, really, really cheap. But it's like, man, they couldn't even really, no amount of body work would make them right either. Because like the dial lines and everything were in the wrong places. On an A body, I think there's 5 lines that are actually struck in like the door and fender on an A body Mopar. I think I'm going from memory. It's either 5 or 7, and man, they got to be perfect or it won't line up just right. Dakota says no charger yet. I do need a good phone charger. Yeah, now you do. Ron says, have you seen the Figure G15 sheet metal forming machine? It works like a 3D printer, but it's a 3D former that uses a roller tip and varies depth and pressure to make sheet metal parts. No, I have never seen that. I would have remembered watching something like that work. That thing is cool. It sounds super cool. That sounds really cool, actually. That sounds wild. 38 says, I've seen a few Sherman panels stashed away for the 59s. They're more than twice the price now if you can get them, I bet. Yep. Have no fear, the Dougster is here. Howdy, Dougster. Thanks for coming by. BNR's warning who you deal with Pontiac V8 Pros. Yeah, well, that probably would go with anybody. Without the size and hassle of 10-ton dies. Yes, if that thing will reproduce accurately, that's literally what you call a game changer. It's an overused term, but I think in that case, it really would be. That's wild. It sounds like it would be extremely expensive, too. Ray Sherman is what's on the Laguna, $300 per side. Was 2 paychecks back then. Crazy what I sacrificed for an ugly disco car. Yeah, well, I mean, but it's cool. It's a cool car, Levi. Dakota said if I had a big bank account, I'd already have a charger. You know how much money Dakota would have if he were to stuff that away in the market, what he's saving for that car? He'd be a millionaire by the time he's 40. I'm not even exaggerating. Dakota says, I'm the only Pontiac pro I deal with. Okay. Dakota knows a lot about the Pontiacs. His brother does too. But he's a closet Mopar guy who just can't help it. He's got to have a Charger. Jethro likes to tear these things up. He's not being really good about what he does with the plastics, so it's kind of iffy. Danny Boyd loves the old Lagunas. They certainly are cool. Levi's is cool. Big Block 402 says, one of our mills has a metal 3D printer that makes a lot of parts for our steel mills. Very inexpensive machine, but does amazing work. Oh, I bet. BNR says, I don't care about 1,000 horsepower no more. There's a link for the sheet metal former. Old McDonald says, do you recall the Roadrunner figure that either bolted to the wheel hub or into the grease cap? Oh, are you talking about that advertising thing that would stay stationary when it moved? I think that went on the center. Ron Ward, I know, will know all about that thing. Ron, he's talking about that advertisement piece that had the Roadrunner on it that stayed stationary on the front wheels when the car went down the road. Big Block 402 said, that's what I'm drinking now. Yeah, I don't drink as much Diet Dr. Pepper as I used to. I really don't. In the summer, I just drink a straight gallon jug of water, and in the winter, I drink my hot chocolate. But I drink Dr. Pepper every now and then. Hunter likes to spend his money. But you do too. You're only saving so you can spend it. Nader says, I'm still typing and waving left-handed. ASO says, I can only drink 32 ounces a day. That's pretty conservative, man. Scroll up. Scroll up to where? Oh, I can't see it. If that's the mod, post in the chat. Ron, if you want to shoot that over to me, I can put it on the screen. Text it to me if you don't mind. Yeah, I can't see it like that. Let's a mob post it. Levi says, Dakota, get it in the S&P and forget about it. Invest in your future is the best way to pay for yourself future. Levi's right. I don't think Dakota will do it, but Levi's right. And Dakota is so young, that is going to turn into a pile of money when he's like 40 years old. Oh, my gosh. I ran some numbers for Dakota. I think they blew his mind, and they're real. All right. Let's do this. All right, here it is running. I'm going to put it up this way, my low-tech way. Oh, my gosh, look at that thing work. Oh, that's wow. Was it making a shaker hood? Yeah. It made a shaker in 70 minutes. Oh, look at that. You can see my camera there for a second. That's pretty wild. Oh, wow.
Up until now, there hasn't been a commercially available solution to produce
it looks to me like it just,
parts without any tooling or dies.
It is important in today's market for manufacturers.
That's incredible. That's incredible. That's wild. That's my low-tech way of doing that. Ron says in regards to those advertising things, it came out in '69 when the Motor Trend selected the Roadrunner as the car of the year. Great promotional gimmick. Yeah, I think it's cool. On rare occasion, you'll see those things at a car show. I've seen a couple sets in person, I think at Carlisle. They're pretty wild. They're just different. Fabrice Monitor repeats, as I see the poison ivy likes you as much as it does me. Yeah, it gets me pretty good, but it's all right. It's no big deal. It'll go away. ASO misses my Dr. Peppers. Got it. Hill 88 scoop. Well, it was some kind of shaker for Barracuda. I recognized immediately from the shape. Wow, that's cool. Yes, it is. That's wild. I mean, to make it look factory correct, you still have to do a little work, it looks like. Get the little witness marks out. But, man, that's an incredible piece. I'm sure it's extremely expensive. I can't even imagine what it cost. But yeah, I'll watch the rest of that later. That is cool. Levi says, I know the old heads beat that horse to death, but it's because they didn't and regret it. Oh, yeah, they do, but that's the way it is. Dougster says if you have the ivy, use lye or nap the soap, it'll go away. It won't be around too long. I got so many vines back in those raking out that tree line. It's horrible, nasty work. It really is, but it needed to be done desperately. So after this storm, it just like, oh gosh. I'm probably going to be I will be probably 8 or 9 10-foot trailer loads of brush coming out of just this property. Half an acre had that much now, at least. Oh, and that doesn't even count that humongous limb. I'm going to deal with it last. Once everything is cleaned out around it, I'm going to deal with it last. I was looking. It looks like I can pretty well get a strap around it, hook it to the hitch, so that I got some control over where it falls, and I'll cut it at the bottom, and I think it'll come on down. And then, of course, if it doesn't come on down, well, that's okay, too. It's probably even better, because then I can put a ladder up on the tree. I can go up and just cut sections of log off of it and let them fall. But then I got to get up pretty high to get the top of it. So I'm kind of hoping once I cut the bottom, it'll just finish falling without doing too much damage to the tree or anything, and I can just cut it up on the ground. So, whatever. Levi says, I wonder if they make those affordable. Not a chance. I'm sure it's not affordable. I mean, well, it depends who you are. Affordable is all relative now, isn't it? Danny Boyd says 3D printers are almost cheap now. Yeah, 3D printers have really come down to where it's within reason. But that's not what this is. This probably costs as much as a new car or more. Yeah, Ron says it'll ring the cash register to the tune of $500,000. Yeah, well, I mean, that thing is massive and it's programmable. Yeah, I figured as much. I mean, I figure when that thing does become something we will have, it will then be down to the cost of a new car, a small version. I don't know. But that technology will come down in price, but it won't be anything good anytime soon. It is neat, though. Mater likes cold water and Dawn dish soap for poison ivy. That's exactly what I've done. BNR says it hurts bad, 40 and over and falling down hard, John. But they don't want to fall down? Dougster finds it at the grocery store. Well, it's all right. It's fine. You can see how red it is. You can tell I've had it a few days now. It's on its way out. It'll be all right. The worst I ever got it was on one of my properties in Bluefield. I got it all up my arms. It was so bad. It was so bad. It was just so bad. You can still see marks where I got it on this arm. It ate this arm up. Ron says, can you imagine how much time and money NASCAR teams could have saved utilizing that machine? Oh, I'm sure NASCAR teams will own those. Mohawk says, ivies don't affect me either. Man, I know people who they don't. Like, I had this boy that used to work for me. He did windows and stuff. He could practically just eat poison ivy. It didn't bother him at all. It gets me, but, some people, it doesn't affect them at all. Ron says, and if there's templates, NASCAR could require teams to all use the same panels. Why not? Those cars are just completely generic and uninteresting now anyway. I mean, who cares? They're all ruined. NASCAR took out the last remaining bit of original DNA. They took out all that remaining. So they got rid of the transmission in the middle, the 4-speed in the middle. They got rid of the 5-lug wheels. It's like, we want to purge everything that used to be a car out of this and throw it away. I'm like, that is it. I am officially 100% out and could not care less anymore. So now I don't care what they do with that. Quit showing it. My fish fry Friday's starting to come up. Most people don't look anyway. Most people listen to this podcast style. Vader said it's not the height or the fall that bothers me. It's the sudden stop that hurts. Yeah. I'm pretty good. I got up on a roof Saturday and had to get some limbs off of it. Got a limb off the roof of my neighbor's shed today because it was hanging over my fence line. They all have to fit a template, but it's up to each team's fab guys to make the cars fit the templates. Yeah, they do. But why not just let them all run the same sheet? I mean, what difference? Really, I mean, they've taken all of that away. They've taken it all out of the hands of the teams. NASCAR it's just gone. It's gone now. It just needs to go away and start over. 38 says stock or car racing, no more in NASCAR. That is correct. Now it's just go-karts with jockey-sponsored darling drivers is what it is now. Danny Boyd says the $1 million question is, does it burn? Ron says, I'm with you. I lost interest in NASCAR when they got rid of chrome bumpers. Oh, yeah. No, I'm not saying that it wasn't much better, back in the day, but it has progressively gotten stupider and stupider. I very much, like, I'll tell you, just little things. Like, there's a lot of people who don't care about the one-lug wheel thing. Well, I do. Because to me, when I sit on the stretch there at Martinsville, when I sit on the front stretch and see all those cars come down pit road, I want to hear 5 lugs and air guns changing the wheels. That's the way it's supposed to be. I mean, so much of the cool factor gets thrown away with little things like that. It just does. This paddle shifter stuff is junk. I just don't care for any of that. So I'm like, we already had like IndyCar, Formula One with all that. Why did NASCAR have to turn into that? Why can't it be its own thing? I don't understand. Anyway, they threw away the last remaining DNA, and that was like a big middle finger to people like me to say, we absolutely don't care about guys like you. Fine, that's fine. They do their thing. I don't watch it. I don't care. It's just not interesting to me. And NHRA has done their level best to do the same. They ruined Pro Stock. Blue Grit says, Mater, that's like when Elon says he wants to die on Mars but not on Impact. The richest man in the world. I'm sure he can make happen whatever he wants to. You should try falling down a telephone pole or power pole from 35 or 45 feet. I was pulling foot-long splinters for an hour out of my chest. My dad did exactly that. He used to be a lineman for a cable TV company, and he slid down a pole one time, and he got so scarred up, it was ugly. It was bad. But he did exactly that. He had a pole break on him, and he slid down it like that. It was bad. That was his worst fall. He had a friend fall off a roof and die, though. So at least it wasn't that. Ron says, I don't care for the intermissions and stages either. I don't either, but I know that why they do that. They do it because they got to break it down because of attention span. That's why they do that. Danny Boy says, when NASCAR went to Fox and Dale died, I was mostly done. Yeah, it was just, it was, I mean, look, it's not like there's one moment, but I just think that a lot of that it's just morphed away from what a lot of us liked. BNR said the Super T10 was used in NASCAR for decades. Yeah. I mean, I guess it's cool to modernize and update from things like that, but there's some things, just basic framework, that I think should stay the same. And the thing is, they'll tell us that we're dinosaurs and we're wrong, but look at the stands when people like us were in them, and look at the stands now. That pretty much answers the question. Levi says, I think stock manufacturers ruined pro stock, but NHRA didn't help it. Well, they didn't, but it was up to NHRA. NHRA can override any of that. NHRA could fix those problems. They didn't want to. BNR saw one of the dual NASCAR clutch transmissions at PRI. Danny Boyce, I thought NASCAR was cool as ever in the 90s. The 90s was a great time for NASCAR. Really, it was. Really, it was. I thought so, too. A lot of talent. It was good. The Super T10 is the aluminum. So what is the difference between a T10 and a Super T10? I'm sure B&R can tell us. Is it an aluminum versus an iron case? I don't really know. This is interesting. Ron Ward says, I'm of the unpopular opinion that Dale Earnhardt ruined NASCAR. Please elaborate. I think that's interesting. Dougster says, Wilburn, the Pepsi infiltrate Coke story is a gem, and the syrup jug is the cherry on the sundae. You know, she paraphrased that, and I think she might have been afraid to give away some of the specifics. Understandable, but she could have read exactly what I sent her. I might post that in the community post because it actually has a few more little details of the story. But yeah, I'd heard that story when I was a kid, was never allowed to tell it. But now that all of the people, like all of them are gone, I'm sure it's okay. And then I found one of the actual jugs in the basement. The only Pepsi thing in that entire property. Danny Boy says, my favorite NASCAR hike is overdrive third gear at Pocono. Rule says fourth has to be 1-to-1. Oh, yeah, that's beautiful. Love it. No, that's awesome. I didn't know they were doing that, but that is really cool. Dougster says it stands for not actually stock, can actually race. Maybe. ASO says Dale and Davey made high standards of NASCAR. Dakota says, be careful saying that about Earnhardt, so those hillbillies getting a gunfight over here. Yeah, it is true. Levi says, how can NHRA control manufacturers when they don't make a two-door rear-wheel drive car? Because it doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. As you saw with the Neons and all that other stuff, none of that mattered. The Avenger, no, it doesn't really matter. What they can do is they can mandate carburetors, and they can do, you know, cubic inches and all that kind of stuff for competition. NHRA's got complete control over all of that. You got to remember, the manufacturers make one thing, but it's NHRA that says who has to use it and what they can do with it and all of that. That's all under NHRA's purview. They can do that. Danny Boyd says, I wasn't a Dale fan, and I think he raced dirty. I agree, he did race dirty, but you know, a lot of people romanticize the way they remember him. But he was definitely a character that put a lot into the history of NASCAR. Ron says, Dale was dirty. He was over-glorified for pushing people on the wall of the infield. Number 3 would never have made it as a World of Outlaws driver. I actually would agree with that. I'm sure that's blasphemous to some people, but I would agree with that. Andrew Nelson says that the Super T10 has large shafts. The T10 has small shafts. Okay, that's cool. That's good to know. I did not know that. Mostly old parts says, but once he started shoving people out of the way, it opened the door for all the drivers to do it. Now it's a bunch of bumper cars. Well, this is true. They all do it. I will say, if there wasn't a Dale Earnhardt, you wouldn't have a Kyle Busch who does it. And yeah, this is true. Dougster is a Richard Petty fan, 43 now and forever. Danny Boyd says, if you can't drive around somebody, you shouldn't be pushing them out of the way. I tell you, I don't know really how that sport sorts itself out. I like drag racing, you know, just 2 cars to the line, simple. Danny Boyd says Dale was not the best sportsman. I've always thought that. I've always kind of wondered, you know, how does that really play when these people push each other out of the way? I just don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But I've always kind of wondered about that. ASO like some of the 69 Dodges. Yeah, well, I'll tell you, the Daytona, It was 1 year, Superbird 1 year with the wing cars. They have an interesting history in NASCAR. Tour Angie's here, says, just jumping in to say hi. Hope you're doing well and like the video premiere at 10. So, yes, a reminder here at 10 o'clock in the East, which is 25 minutes from now, on the Tour Angie channel, there is a link pinned at the top, and there is a link in the description of this video. We're going to show a tour of the remains of the old Princeton Dragway in Princeton, West Virginia, a track that closed after the 1999 season, and it is now a trailer park. But we were there a couple weeks ago, and we toured the remains. So if you want to see what that track looks like now, it'll be on the Tour Angie channel. It's a premiere, and it will be in 24 minutes. I'll be there. I encourage you guys to be there too. Thanks for coming by. B&R says they use a transaxle layout now like the Porsche and Corvette did with the independent rear suspension, not solid axle. Yes, that's what's in those NASCAR vehicles now. Ron is headed to bed. Have a great evening. Thank you, Ron. Thanks for coming out. Big Block 402 kind of regrets selling the 69 Super B. My uncle and cousin have a 69 Coronet two-door Super B clone. They've had rat holed away for years. It's green. I love it. If I was going to have a bucket list muscle car, it would be a 69 Super B, that color, deep forest metallic green, six-pack black lift-off hood. That's what it would be. Old McDonald says, I regret selling my 69 Coronet. If I am ever so fortunate as to own a 69 Coronet, I will own it until I croak. Its next owner will be after I no longer have a pulse. Yeah, so, check Angie's channel out. We're going to be doing a premiere over there at 10 o'clock. And also in April, we're going to be doing Bluefield History video touring my old school, where I went to K through 12. And I have not been in that school in over 20 years. And I have no idea what it looks like inside now, but there's a church in there now, and they said that we can tour it. So April 10th is going to be the tour. I don't know when the video will drop, but I'm excited to see it. I haven't seen it. So it's interesting. So while the pastor of this church, I guess, will sort of give us a tour of the church, I'm going to give him a tour of what was there in the 80s. So we'll check it out. It'll be interesting. Dakota says Magnum 500s are steel wheels. The Magnum 500s were steel wheels. I guess you mean plain steels. And the Chrysler, I believe they were called road wheels. And on the Ford, they were called Magnum 500s. I believe it is the same exact stamping, though. Danny Boyd likes the chrome Magnum 500s, yeah. 6th Street Garage likes that Junior Johnson actually ran Moonshine. Yep. Look how this is John's old band camp. I don't know what that means. No flutes there. 2Axe Jeff said the 69 Daytona was actually functional in design. The 70 Superbird was for looks. This is true. The 70 Daytona had a more functional wing on it. Or the 69 Daytona had the more functional wing. The Superbird was basically the street version copy of that to sell in mass to the public. That is correct. Danny Boyd's bringing up Curtis Turner sliding a 58 Ford around the paperclip turn at Daytona on the beach. Oh, yeah, it's so cool watching that old beach racing. Dad has been down there and had saw that track where they had it on the beach and on A1A. He was there and saw that. How cool is that? Those people, there are not many people alive that have seen that. Junior Johnson knew a lot about carburetors. He was a smart guy. He knew a lot of stuff. Dust Devil Garage says, I think all of racing needs characters and different car for people to cheer for. It's like driving down the highway now and everything and everyone looks the same. I totally agree. I was talking with Cope about this. I said, I like the open trailers, cars on open trailers. Look how cool that is. Look how you get the imaginations of these young people. How much they say, oh, man, that is so cool. I want to see where that car's going. I want to see it run. When everything's in an enclosed, we lose all that. I understand there's a lot of advantages to enclosed trailers, protections from the element, keep people from stealing tools and stuff like that. I get all of that. I totally understand. But man, when these cars run open trailers, it just changed everything. There's a lot of things like that. Rabbit Transit Garage says, you guys are making me miss my 68 Coronet and 270 RTs and 7500. Well, I mean, I got to tell you, I understand people have to sell things and stuff like that, but man, if I ever have a 69 Coronet, I would love to. The Roadrunner was one of these just strange things, just kind of fell in my lap. It wasn't far from here at all, but it just needed rescuing, and I drug it out of the weeds, and then some life got in the way of doing what I wanted to do with it. B&R said, one trailing arm got bent and damaged. They are crashing instant rear steers. Yeah, that's all it takes. Blue Grit says, at least get trailers with plexiglass sides. Maybe. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking when he said that, Jeff. The TV Tommy Ivo idea. Yeah, sort of. Tour Angie said, it's funny you're talking about Junior Johnson. My dad used to run moonshine and claimed he drove for Junior for about 6 months, driving shine up Route 52 in North Carolina. Well, that sounds cool. Levi says, let's make ramp trucks great again. B&R says, or 38 says, you can live in a car, but you can't drive a house. Danny Boyd says, Tommy Ivo was a true showman. Yes, he was. He's a cool guy. Isn't he still alive? And he's just really old now, but I was thinking he was still alive. Jeff, is TV Tommy Ivo still kicking? Isn't he like 90 now? Dougster said they never intended to build a Plymouth in a Daytona package. It took Petty coming back for Chrysler to do it, and Plymouth designers had to make it look different. So Dodge is a tick faster Plymouth, yeah. But I was thinking that the Superbird, the Petty Superbird, was the first car that they ever built from scratch and did not use an actual car body. I think what he had, I know the 67 Satellite that he had before that, Coronet or Satellite, that 67 B body, I know it was based on an actual body. And I think his 69 Roadrunner may have been, I'm not sure. I think when he went to, maybe it's when he went to Ford is when he stopped for that brief time. He had a Ford for like 69 only. Because I know the Superbird wasn't. I can't find anybody that definitively has a year for that, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was. 2X says, my dream B body's an A12 69.5 Super B. Dude, mine too. Vintage Adventure Drives, who, by the way, is at 429 subscribers. Last I looked, he is 71 away. And by the way, Vintage Adventure Drives, I was going to hit you up. When you get to about 460, 70, let me know, because I like to have a live stream to get you over 500 live with the community. And we all share out your links and everything and cross that finish line together. So if you don't mind, keep me posted when you get up around 460, 70, somewhere right in there. There's 88 still alive. Yeah, there we go. That's what I was thinking. Petty won the 69 Daytona 500 to Ford. Yeah, see, I knew he was briefly in a Ford in 69. I think when they came back, when that Superbird was an all fully constructed car from scratch. Yes, 69 Petty drove Trino Talladega. 68, I believe he had a Satellite Roadrunner GTX Belvedere or whatever. I think 68 he had that Plymouth. I think I said 69, but I think it was 68. And then 69 he had the Torino. But Petty did his final lap in Pontiac. Yes, he did. 71 is my favorite number. It's a good number. My favorite number is 11. 71 is totally valid. Hey, there's Cave Dave. Howdy. And Danny Boyd says 71 is in Bobby Isaac. Well, it's totally up to you. Vintage Adventure Drive says, I'll make sure to get a hold of you. It'll be interesting to do a live stream. Yeah, so when the No Name 500 guys, when they're getting close to their 500, as many as we can, I try to go live with them. We just did ambush live. We won't advertise it in advance. If you see it, you see it. But we go live and we try to cross that threshold together because it's fun to do it with the community. Was Dave Marcus 71 also? Actually, now that you say that, I think so. Dougster said Petty drove Plymouths, Oldsmobile, Pontiacs, Buicks. Yeah, he drove a lot of different stuff. Levi doesn't care about interviews done before 2000. Well, you don't remember anything before 2000, so I guess that stands to reason. Junkyard D, got the yard raked like you told us to. Oh, you don't have to, but I had to. Man, my yard was gnarly back there, man. I didn't even know was back there. This 4x4 wooden clothesline that was in this little goofy corner of the backyard back there. And it is a mess. I have raked and raked. Just anyway, I'm going to load all that crap up in the morning and make one run to the landfill. Whew, it's something. And the good thing is it's cold enough that it's keeping all the amateur hour way out of there, because the way you have to go in there, you have to back your trailer in, and you got to back your trailer about 300 feet, and you got to stay to the right at some cones because the big trucks go in and out with mulch on the other side. And it's like Memorial Day at a boat ramp. People can't back a trailer back in there, and it's just, there was one dude that was backing in there and he could never get it. He was jackknifing his trailer back into the woods, into the cones. And one time he kind of got in the woods and kind of got stuck. So I just backed around him and went back in there and unloaded. Dave Marcus was known for wearing loafers to drive in. Yeah, just like Dick Trickle had his cigarette lighter on the dash and would smoke. And Bob Reed would smoke with a cigarette hanging out of his mouth while he made passes in his super stock car. There were characters back then that did that kind of stuff. It was wild. Richard Petty driving a Pontiac reminded me Pontiac designed a special NASCAR head for small block Chevy for Petty. Oh, that's interesting. It was before the SB2. That sounds interesting. Cave Dave said he broke his neck 6 months ago, so nothing these days makes me happy. I'm having surgery on the 16th to fuse several vertebrae. Wish me luck. Oh, my gosh. Well, keep Cave Dave in your thoughts. That's rough going, man. You broke your neck. Well, I'll tell you what. We wish you speedy recovery, and hopefully hanging out here will be fun for you while you recover. That's rough, man. Dr. Doe said as a kid, I had to pass on an 11-year-old 69 Daytona wing car with bald tires and 83,000 miles for $500 because I couldn't get insurance. So I drove away in my $300 440 Chrysler 9-passenger wagon. Yeah, you know what, dude? In 1992, my dad was against me buying a 69 Roadrunner B5 Blue air grabber, chrome magnums. The guy was driving to work daily. Beautiful car. $1,800. But that was 1992. I mean, they used to tape gum on the dash to chew. Yeah, they used to do all kinds of stuff like that. They just don't do things like that anymore. And Dick Trickle had the cigarette light. Yeah, I remember that well. Smoked cigars while he raced. Cave Dave says, make stupid decisions and win stupid prizes. Every day in life, we see it everywhere. But yeah, best wishes indeed. That sounds rough, man, but we're here. We're rooting for you. We want to see you make a good recovery. Dougster says, if I were to replicate a NASCAR, I'd build a Petty 86 Aero Coupe. I love that. Those were cool. Those were neat. Mohawk said, I got the Touch Petty's number 3 car for 1969. It was white with blue numbers. It never saw the track. That was cool. I know when I went up to St. Louis after the No Name Nationals the first year because I really wanted to see Bigfoot 1 in person, so I did. And I drove up. I walked in the front door, and the first thing the dude sitting at the desk is, well, go out and take a look, because this must be what everybody asks. So I'm like, well, sure, if you're offering. So I went back there, and Bigfoot 1 was sitting on the trailer outside. I'm like, ooh, I had to touch the door. And interestingly, the hand-painted doors on that truck have never been repainted since the lettering was done about 1981. So the lettering on them, I think, was done right after Take This Job and Shove It, or maybe it was right before, sometime right around that movie in 81, and that's never been repainted. So look how much history you're touching when you touch that door. So had to do it. I got a picture of it. It's on my community tab. Junkyard D said, you just explained my dream car. That's cool. Danny Boyd says, Fox Bodies raced in Winston Cup. Okay. Trying to think what that would have even been. Wood Brothers 80 T-Bird. Okay. Yeah. That was the bird right after the giant one when they went down a size and got it on Fox platform, I think. But then they went to the one with the pointier front end on it for what, 82, something like that. I always thought those were cool. Turbo Tom says, I have a customer with a Ram truck that Petty signed the dash. Oh, that's neat. That's neat. I like that. I hope you got a picture of him signing the dash. Nobody will ever take it out. Actually, the 83 to 86 were Fox 2, I think. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think that T-Bird was when they made it a little shorter. I'm not exactly sure. We've got a lot of Ford people in here that know all about that and know the right answer, though. Two Hack says, Waddell Wilson was a good engine builder in NASCAR. He has a great performance book. Hard to find and expensive if you find it. Well, that's a cool hot tip. Danny Boyd likes the 80 to 82 T-Birds. Yeah. Buffdale Campo says, we'll be going live after 2 range. Yeah, I don't know how long that video is. I know it can't be over 14 minutes, so I don't know what got edited out of it. So I'm pretty sure that live with the 2-minute countdown, it surely can't run past about 10:16 Eastern. BNR says the 5.0 Fox body never did great dirt track racing local. Yeah, well, not everything is good at everything. Blue Grit Garage says he has a picture of Anna when she was 5 years old sitting in the rim of Bigfoot. Oh, that's neat. Which Bigfoot was it? And I'm assuming being in the rim, it's probably one of those 66-inch tires. Although a 5-year-old could probably sit in the rim of the 48s. Vintage Adventurer Drive says, Jeff Lutz signed the hood on my Impala. For me being an 11-year-old kid at the time, that was super cool. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I've never been a big autograph person. I think it's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I mean, it's neat and it's preserved. Jason says the T-Birds were Fox chassis. Yeah, Jason would know. Yeah. Mark Phipps has 2 dream cars: a '69 Roadrunner 426 Hemi 4-speed and a '63 split windshield. You mean split rear window Stingray? Yeah. 2 cool choices. Yep. You know what? Somewhere here, and it's going to be hard for me to find. I got a video I took at Elk Creek Dragway of a split window Corvette, a fast one that got all kinds of sideways off the line, had 2 tires off the track, all kind of crazy. But this was before YouTube. I would definitely have posted it if I had, taken a recent time. But if I ever find that, I'll put it up for a short. It's wild. Dougster says Smokey Unick was a great engine builder in NASCAR. He was an innovator, that's for sure. Danny Boyd says, one of my dream cars is a Corvette with full wheel covers, side pipes, and a vinyl roof. Yeah. Believe it or not, in Corvettes, I think my favorite Corvette is an early Sharkvette. Now, those cars don't get much love, but I think they're cool. I like the Sharkvettes. Mohawk says, my friend Brian Bates owned that Petty car along with the Sox and Martin 68 Cuda. That's neat. That's very neat. I'm glad a lot of those cars have gotten preserved. Dust Devil Garage says, I could see Bigfoot from my bedroom window when I was a kid. So you lived where you could see that interstate interchange in Hazelwood where the shop was from, what, 84 or 83, 4 up until recent? Like 2010 or something, that shop, I'm assuming? Or was it one of the earlier shops there? It's just down the road from it. 2 of those shops are real close to it down the road. The second shop where he's at is no longer there. It's been torn down. They built modern stuff there. The very first shop Bigfoot was in Ferguson. I can't think of the address. It's on my community tab, though, but that shop still exists. And I drove by and took a picture of it and put it on my community tab. So the very, very first shop, Bob Chandler, where he built Bigfoot #1, where Midwest four-wheel drive was in the late 70s, that shop still exists. It's brick, and it's on this weird triangular lot, and it's in Ferguson. And then his second shop that he was in briefly looked like a gigantic Quonset hut. It's torn down. But then the one that the most famous shop they had, without a doubt, is the one in Hazelwood. It's right on the interstate. And they would have Bigfoot 5 on this big pedestal and all that. And it was a real famous shop. It's a body shop now. And now he's got this nondescript looking building in Pacific, and it's pretty industrial looking and all. It has a little showroom in it. And they do their show there, every summer. It'd be cool if he would do that show, just close enough to No Name Nationals. I'd be tempted to, stay out there and catch it. But Dust Devil said it was the Hazelwood shop. Yeah, across the highway. Cool. Cave Dave says, I love Corvettes as long as they have steel bumpers. So what year would that be for you? What will be your cutoff year on them? I'm trying to remember. I think the early Sharks had the steel bumpers, and then they went to the body molded bumpers. Two Hacks said in the 80s, I was at the Bigfoot headquarters with my cousin. He got a Big Wheels Bigfoot there and still has the only EV I ever liked. Yeah, I have the electric Bigfoot that's about this big. Super cool. And if I ever go to the Bigfoot open house, I'm going to take that thing and get Chandler to sign it if I can. Hopefully he will. Now, I'll tell you something else I have too. Unfortunately, how do you prove it? When I was you can find this on YouTube. In 1987, I went to a show inside the Roanoke Civic Center, and Bigfoot 5 was racing Gravedigger 1 in the finals. And he came down on the nose pretty hot, couldn't get it stopped, and he tagged the wall of the Roanoke Civic Center, knocked a chunk out of the grill, and I have a chunk out of that grill. But how do I should have, that night, gotten it signed by Jim Kramer, who was driving, but I don't know. As a kid, I'm like, should I not have this? Would I get in trouble for having it? But I have it, though. 74 was the last chrome bumper vet. Sounds about right. Is there a Bigfoot YouTube channel? Yes, there is. They have a pretty good-sized YouTube channel. They have over 100,000 subs and a lot of old stuff on there. They've got testing of Bigfoot 8, with just transport tires on it so they can get a feel of suspension. They got testing of the old trucks, all kinds of good old stuff on there. You remember the Aerostar Tracks channel had? Yes, I do. He had one that had 48-inch tires that still had the stock V6 in it, of all things. And then he had one on tracks, personnel carrier tracks. Yes, sir. Big Block 402 Steven says, Bigfoot came to Blytheville in the 80s, and I got Chandler signed by Bigfoot Rick. A calendar signed by Bigfoot Rick. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, cool. That's neat. The only chunk of a car I have is from the Street Outlaws car, the Crow. The car got wrecked in my town. I took a thumbnail picture in the shutdown area. Yeah, see, that's cool. Same thing. Yeah, I scavenged a little souvenir. I like that. Mohawk said 74 had a chrome bumper and the rubber back bumper. Okay, that's cool. That makes a lot of sense. So they qualify for No Name Nationals? Yes, they do. But that's a whole different deal, Dust Devil. A whole different deal. The Ranger Bigfoot was awesome. And that has been found. And last I saw, it was in the process of restoration. So it's been found and is under restoration. I think all of the trucks now, all of them are now accounted for. And they're accounted for. Some of them, like Bigfoot 9, I think, is the one. 9 or 10 got stolen. 6 was found in a junkyard in Egypt and brought back here. So 6 is now back. 6 is the first one I saw in person. But you know what? It is 9:59, and we are cruising up to 10. And so there's 2 minutes and change until the premiere of the Tour Angie video touring the remains of Princeton Dragway. There's a link pinned at the top. I will see you guys over there. Don't forget Wednesday night Tech Talk Live on the AHRA channel with Dallas and Professor P. And congratulations to Ron Ward on winning the hat, and I will see you guys again next weekend. Thanks for coming out tonight. Y'all have a great weekend, and I will see you at the premiere coming up now.